A couple legends in the NBA, including Dirk Nowitzki and Kobe Bryant, believe the NBA season should be shorter. Do you agree with them?
Of course I do. This is a Francis Maxwell, Ben Mankiewicz conversation, usually. This is about the only thing we agree upon when it comes to American sports. I voiced this concern throughout the season, and if you want to prevent the asterisks being put on certain NBA finals wins or any certain playoff results, then you have to consider how much these players are putting their bodies at risk consistently. Does that mean that there won't be injuries? Of course not. This is sports. This is what happens. But when you play, Jason hit me with the amount of games, 73 and 82. I was trying to make up the mass of the 73-9 Golden State Warriors record. So 82 games in the space of such a short period of time. Your body can take so much. And if you look collectively, minus the craziness that it is the NFL and the concussion stories and everything else that goes along with being injured in that sport, the NBA has more injuries than most other sports because they don't have any protection or padding, right? And it's not a contact sport.
You can sell me that shooting sleeves.
Yeah, you can sell me that bullshit all you want. But these players, again, I'm not saying it's the most physical sport, but the way that you're consistently playing on such hardwood floors, you look at the amount of knee injuries, you look at, and that's just Derrick Rose I'm talking about, that goes through in the majority of the years.
They're also huge.
Yeah, big men,
back problems,
fall hard, back problems. You have to consider that. What do you want to see? Do you want to see, I would say, an overall accurate winner at the end of the year when it comes to all the players fit and healthy, or do you want to see the more games during regular season? Most people might say more games during regular season, but I'm a strong advocate, Jason, and I've told you this, that some games are just plain boring to watch because fatigue happens, teams just run out of ideas when they're playing. Like, I remember I talk about this it's all my reference all the time. The Mavs versus the Spurs. I think they played each other like 4 times in the space of a week or two. And it just, some of the games I was like, Jesus, this is like watching practice for the Spurs because they're just able to go forward and destroy themselves.
Well, there's also, so there's a couple things to address here. For one, I want to get to Dirk and Kobe's quotes because those are two obviously the guys. And it's not just them. Paul Pierce has said this. Going back to Sean Kemp's time, he said this. But in terms of Dirk and Kobe, 2 legends, 2 of the greatest scorers, the first one comes from Dirk. I always understand that it's about money, and every missed game means missed money for both parties, for the league, for the owners, for the players. Nowitzki says in the ESPN story, I understand all that, and that's why I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. He also goes on to say that he believes it should be. Kobe agrees with Dirk on this matter as well when he said, we can give the fans a greater show. If guys are able to get more rest and we're healthier and all this other stuff, you wouldn't have other players sitting out games, back-to-backs and all the other shit. So everyone would get a maximum performance because players would be extremely well rested and coming in looking to kick ass every single night and looking to put on a show for the fans every single night. The product that the fans would get would be better. So I know we've been talking a lot about LeBron James on this channel. I'm fully aware of that. But this is where I want to give LeBron James another dose of credit. LeBron James has been playing a 66-game season for about 4 years. And you look at him and you go, first of all, other players can do this too. And they're going to say it hurts the product. It does hurt the product a little bit during the regular season. Fortunately, you get upwards of 28 additional games, technically double that because there's East and Western Conference, if all series in the playoffs go to 7 games. Usually averages out to 20, 21 games. There's sweeps here and there. There's game 7s here and there. But teams and coaches need to catch on, because I think that would send a message. They used to, coaches can still get fined. San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich used to get fined for sitting all of his starters sometimes during the middle of the season. So LeBron and Greg Popovich, amongst other coaches who are great at managing minutes, Steve Kerr actually was catching on to it too this year. The fact of the matter is that a 66-game season over the course of the full same amount of months, when they had the lockout season, it was about 66 games, but they were playing like 4 games in 5 nights because it didn't start till Christmas.
Christmas, I remember that.
Bad. Too much. That's why injuries happened for the most part too. But 66 games would also mean less frequency of teams playing each other. You can hype more for the games that are going to be bigger, and you would stay healthier. My God, I think the whole league would stay healthier. You can almost have no back-to-backs, which is big. So also, in the beginning of 2015, credit to Adam Silver for this one, he started making a lot of improvements that David Stern never really wanted to do, 2 of which include scheduling. So here's the 2 tweets, and then we'll get into some of the 73-9 Warriors, Francis. Back-to-backs also decreased around the NBA, going from an average of 19.3 last season to 17.8 this season, an all-time low. That was, again, ahead of this season itself. And continuing, NBA made an effort to eliminate 4 games in 5 nights as much as possible, going from 70 last season to 27 this season, a 61% decrease. Yeah, everyone, the players attested to it. The Players Union, led by Chris Paul, who obviously is one of the smartest minds, not just in but outside of basketball, and leading these guys, was like, you got to get rid of these 4 and 5. We're dying out here.
Yeah, and you look at the Olympics as one of the main examples. How many players now are thinking, Jesus, I need to recover? Or if you're J.R. Smith, Jesus, I need to party. But either way, it's like they can't go to the Olympics now, which, again, some people don't view it as important, but we talked about how it's a very rare instance where you unite the country and compete. A lot of these players just can't because their body is already put under so much strain through the regular season that they need to use these months to recover. If you had a shorter season and therefore a shorter postseason, these players wouldn't be under so much stress to have to try and get back into peak physical condition for the start of the regular season. So I think that it does make a lot of sense. So again, and to continue our theme of Francis mentioning football in every single clip, it's because the system is there in world football so that players don't get injured, and there's other ways of bringing in that money. Sponsorships on the strips, right? And we talked about this, and people are complaining. And the same people complaining are the same people that fill in the American Airlines arena. Your stadium is sponsored. Relax. Everything is sponsored. Just because you have a bit of branding on the jersey, it's not going to cause any problems. So there is other ways to make the money through that advertisement. Maybe even the games, you can add more of your 19 ads per every quarter if you wanted to do that to make up the money. But I think overwhelmingly people would support. I mean, to wrap it up, it's just there's other ways to try and make that money. And I think that Kobe's point goes along well with Dirk's point, is that the product will improve because people are going to pay to see their superstar athletes, right? They're going to pay to see who they want leading each team. And a lot of the times in these back-to-back games, you don't get to see the star players consistently play against each other. Most of the time, even we've seen it in the postseason, is we don't get to see Chris Paul play for the Clippers. We don't get to see some of the big names coming up against each other.
What about Blake?
What about Blake? And this is the point I was going to say. I've been watching sport now religiously for a long time, and I love it. And I don't think that it's very similar to the way that people try to change the core rules of the sport. Like, everything's going to remain the same. You're just going to get a better overarching product. I think it's how many times do each team regularly, on average, play each other?
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Like the Spurs and Warriors played 4 times this season, but the Spurs and I think the Grizzlies only played 3. I could be wrong. They might have played 4, but that's how it works. Now, lastly, there's been a lot of reports, at least on, should the NBA shorten its regular season? Because look at teams like specifically the Warriors and the 73-9 record. There's one very, very easy answer to that question. No, the 73-9 record didn't have anything to do with the Warriors. Yes, they looked exhausted, but so did the Cavs, so did the Thunder, so did the Clippers when they were getting injury-riddled. The reason for that is the Warriors in specifics, I don't think one player in that team was top 10 in minutes per game played because most of them didn't play the fourth quarter because they were winning by so much in the first half of the season. Steph Curry's per 36-minute numbers were better than his average numbers because he wasn't playing 36 minutes a game during the regular season. And 36 minutes a game is what pretty much every star player should be playing, and that's why. So in terms of that, it's like the minutes management of Greg Popovich. Why he's always healthy usually for the postseason is because of those reasons. So I don't like the idea that the Warriors lost the finals because of a 73-9 season. All right, well, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. Should the NBA shorten the regular season? As always, love to hear your thoughts on Twitter as well. Francis_Maxwell, Jason Rubin 91. On Instagram, Francis Maxwell, host, and Jason Rubin 91. Also over there, TYT Sports and all the good stuff. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TYT Sports.